a pleasure to be with you today to bring you a brief update on America, and we're very privileged and excited today to have two special guests, and we're in Marietta, Ohio. And with me today is the mayor, Mayor Matthews of Marietta, as well as Pastor Rodney Lord, who pastors Freedom Gate Church here in Marietta. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It's
Nice to be here. Thank you
wonderful
for
to have
coming.
you guys. Absolutely. And today we're launching into a bit of a new territory, but we thought this would be a very interesting and inspiring story, and again, one that people have a great interest in as we talk about how pastors and mayors, or if you will, church leaders and public servants, civil government leaders are working together. So, Mayor, tell us, how long have you been serving as mayor here in Marietta?
I was mayor for 12 years, several years ago. Went in 92.
Yes, sir.
Got out in 2003. Was out of office 8 years and come back in again, so I'm on my 15th year now. Longest serving mayor in the history of the oldest permanent settlement in the Northwest Territory.
Wow, awesome. And what is the population of Marietta?
Just a little under 15,000.
15,000.
Yes, sir.
And it's a beautiful city.
It is, the best that I know
Absolutely.
of. I always say another day in paradise.
And Pastor Rodney, how long have you been pastoring here in Marietta?
Been here about 16 years.
Okay, very good. You were just telling me before we started this interview about a recent recognition and really an honor for
Yes.
the city. So tell us just a moment. People have an interest in hearing that.
We were rated among the towns in the United States under 15,000 people by Smithsonian Magazine, the number 6 town in the nation to come and visit.
That's wonderful. So that's a good plug for the city.
Yes, it is, certainly.
It's
We
a
love
good
it,
plug
yes.
for the city.
You can't buy that kind of advertising.
No, you can't. What I would be interested in you guys telling, maybe Pastor Rodney, if you will tell us a little bit about what prompted you guys being involved together. I know you've done various things together, prayer assignments and partnering together, but let's start from the spiritual side in terms of any prayer relationship. Give us some background to that.
Okay.
Please.
Years ago, when the mayor was first serving in his first couple of terms, there was a group of intercessors that began a connection and praying with the mayor once a month, and he opened his chambers and we met there. And so there was a 4-year period where he wasn't mayor, then he ran again, and so I knew he was going to be his first day in office, so I called and said, I'd like to just show up and pray with you on your first day again. And immediately he said, well, we are going to start praying once a month again, aren't we?
Right.
And so out of that, several other pastors and I, we just asked the mayor if we could come in. And so once a month we come in and we have a sharing time, a time of the word, and praying over the mayor, over the city, and concerns of the region.
Wonderful. That is so encouraging. And Mayor, tell us a little about from your side of the desk. What has that meant? How? Just give us your story in terms of being involved.
Well,
with
I think it gives the city a perspective. I know some mayors have not wanted to involve in this, but I certainly believe in doing it every time. And another thing we've been very active with Pastor Rodney and other pastors is the National Day of Prayer here in Marietta. We have that the first Thursday in May every year, and it's been very good. It's very well attended. We block off the streets downtown. We have a lot of singing, a lot of pastors preaching, and myself, I do a proclamation. And it's just been great to work with Rodney and the other folks. And occasionally, instead of meeting here, we'll go have breakfast at Bob Evans or something. So we've had a very, very good relationship.
Wonderful. Pastor Rodney, I know it's more than just you, so tell us maybe a little bit about others that are involved, not necessarily the names, but maybe organizations or groups that represented, to give us a little feel for that.
Well, recently we just had a meeting. It was a gathering of marketplace people as well as some spiritual leaders and civil government leaders. Some of our commissioners were there. And we were just literally talking about the future of the region. This region has a lot of prosperity coming from the oil and gas, and a cracker plant, which is a petrochemical plant coming into the area. So we wanted to say, how do we steward this? And there's a comment I'd like to make regarding the mayor's leadership, and that is, one of the things I've noticed is that he carries such a father's heart for the city and for the region. Many times he's called on to do weddings and things of that nature as well. But just from interacting and being here and knowing him, how that he gets involved in the personal lives of people here in the city. So there's a lot of dynamics that take place beyond just the official civil government role.
Right. What do you gentlemen see as the practical, maybe one or two thoughts, of practical results or benefits, the word we might use are blessings over the community that you see happening because you've chosen to partner together at some level of involvement for the good of the city? So, Pastor Rodney, any thoughts?
The first thing I would say is relationship. When there is an existing relationship, no matter what happens, then there's people to contact, to communicate. There's a level of connectedness. You know, communities experience different crises and different things, whether it's a fire, flood, and we've had those here. We know who to pick up and the phone and call and to be connected with. So that's one of the dynamics, I would say.
And I think it's wonderful that we can all work together this way. And like Rodney says, partner, because, you know, one man can't do it alone. Right. No man is a mountain, I've always said. Right. So we need to work together in everything we do, whether it be spiritually, mentally, or whatever we do for the city. And I think it's been very, very successful.
Recently, we were in discussion. Mayor's very involved in a lot of veterans affairs, and there's a lot of veterans organizations in the region. And so he's taken the initiative to connect and be a part of that. And in one of our prayer times, because one of our pastors was a former chaplain, and so we're trying to start connecting other leaders in with that.
I'm always aware that we'll have people that will be viewing who would have either the call of God or a desire, and maybe they're the same thing, to want to be involved at a higher level in the community, again, for the good of the community. And that's what we are emphasizing, is people getting engaged in their community, taking ownership of their community. So let's finally, I want to ask you, Pastor Rodney, people that will be watching, whether they're believers or maybe they're pastors or leaders at some level, but from the spiritual side of it, what recommendation, wisdom, or advice would you give them to how to take the next step, how to get engaged, for example, in working with their mayor, civil government leaders, etc.? What wisdom can you share with us?
I guess the one thing I would say is when maybe several things. First is that we take ownership of our cities. As pastors and leaders, we certainly take ownership of the people we serve in the church and ministries. But when you start taking ownership of the region, and sometimes that's a practical thing of just prayer walking. In our city, we have a beautiful overlook that overlooks the city. So I often go up there and pray because I can see, the different industries and education, hospitals, all kinds of things taking place. So that's one thing. But the other thing is serving. I believe we're called, Nehemiah was called to go back. In fact, he told the king, he said, send me to the city so I can rebuild it. And to me, it takes a corporate Nehemiah, and that's not just pastors, but I believe it's leaders of every kind, to have a sense of building the city, being part of rebuilding the walls, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I would share.
I had the opportunity here recently to read a book called God at Work.
Yes, sir.
And I was telling Pastor Rodney and the other folks the other day, when I read this, it kind of gave you a different perspective. But priests and kings.
Yes, sir.
And so I guess I'm not a king in that respect, but the work I'm doing is not the church work, so to speak, but within the city.
Right. Yeah, and so you're set in by God, and so I think we would all three agree that whether you're standing behind the pulpit or you're sitting behind your desk or involved in the community, both of you men are called of God, graced by God, anointed of God to be a blessing to the city.
Yes, sir.
And
welcome.
Well, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for taking your time, and thank you for being an example and a model. And that's what we are working to see, is what you guys are modeling, what you're doing, see that across this great nation. Because we believe the way we turn this nation is by turning it one community at a time. And we can't do it by ourselves. It has to be partnership. So that's the reason we wanted to do this today, to be an example, if you will, a model, to hopefully encourage others to build these partnerships. Because again, how can we turn America? We can turn it one community at a time, and it's through these kind of partnerships. And so thank you for for letting us take a few minutes of your time today. We appreciate it very much, and we say you have a great day today, and may God bless you.